Dear Diary, today I fell down another rabbit hole. I told myself I'd just read a few articles, but here I am, hours later, chasing names I shouldn't know and piecing together details no one's supposed to remember. I'm Neeli Faulkner, and this is Dead Diary, a true crime journal for the obsessed, the curious, and the ones who always dig a little deeper. So let's go ahead and turn the page, but don't say I didn't warn you. Welcome back to another episode of Dead Diary. Today I have a super intriguing story for you, one I'm sure you are as immersed in as I am, especially now thanks to the new true crime drama series on Hulu called Murdaugh, Death in the Family. Yep, you know where I'm going with this. That series is currently on my watch list, so I will have absolutely zero commentary about it. Sorry about that. But I do want to give you the true story of Alex Murdaugh, a prominent South Carolina attorney who was convicted for the June 7th, 2021 murders of his wife, Maggie, and his own son, Paul. We're going to go over who Alex Murdaugh is, all about the Murdaugh family, the evidence in the trial, and the aftermath of it all. But of course, before I get to that, I want to let you know this episode is possible in part thanks to our new friends over at Black Box, the world's most advanced coding assistant. Because we know that every mystery needs the right tools, even in coding. Black Box AI helps developers build smarter, solve faster, and bring their ideas to life. It's like having your own digital detective for code. So check out Black Box AI using the link in our show notes or visit our website at murdercreekmedia.com. So, to understand the story of Alex Murdaugh, we have to give you a little bit of background. We're taking you to South Carolina, to the Lowcountry, at the family's hunting estate known as Moselle. The Murdaughs are from this area. They are very, very, very well known. For over 100 years here, the Murdaugh family name basically was the law. So if you were a prosecutor in the state for the last century, your name was probably Murdaugh. This is how well known and how powerful these people are. But all of that power was shattered when Alex Murdaugh was convicted of the murders of his wife and son. This story actually starts way back on February 24th, 2019, when Paul Murdaugh, one of the victims in this case, crashed the family boat, resulting in the death of a friend by the name of Mallory Beach. So Paul had been drinking throughout that night, using his brother's ID to buy alcohol. Eventually, he gets so drunk that the other passengers on the boat ask him to let someone else drive, but he refuses, and it isn't long before the boat hits a piling on a bridge at Paris Island. Several of the passengers on that boat were injured and transported to the hospital, some of which had actually been thrown from the boat. And Mallory Beach, well, she was thrown from the boat too, but she does not surface, and her body wasn't discovered until 8 days later. On April 18th, 2019, Paul Murdaugh was charged with boating under the influence causing the death of Mallory Beach, as well as seriously injuring 2 other passengers. He pled not guilty, was released on bond, and that case was actually still pending at the time of Paul's murder in June of 2021, with a hearing that was set to be held just 3 days after the murder. In addition to the criminal charges, the Beach family had filed a lawsuit against the Murdaugh family for Mallory's death. So we're really setting the scene here. You really have to understand the background of what's going on to understand the prosecution's case, which I'm going to tell you about. So on the evening of June 7th, 2021, at around 10 p.m., Alex Murdaugh, the father, places a frantic 911 call reporting the discovery of his wife and son both dead at the Moselle property. He told the dispatcher that he had just returned home and had found both his wife and son shot to death near the property's dog kennels. Keep in mind, as we talk about Moselle, that this is a 1,770 acre hunting property, so it is massive. When first responders get to Moselle, they find Maggie, age 52, and Paul, 22, both dead from gunshot wounds, but they're from 2 different firearms. The South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, otherwise known as SLED, investigates the case. They interview Alex, an hour-long interview on June 10th, and 2 months later, he's interviewed by SLED investigators again, and he gives some conflicting statements, most notably that he was not at Moselle at the time of the murders. This becomes very important because investigators had already obtained some videos from Paul's phone where you can hear Alex in the background. Paul is taking a video at the dog kennels to send to one of his friends, and it is just minutes before his life ends. So Alex is caught in a lie here, and he's been caught in several other lies in the months prior to this, especially as it concerned his law practice. Peters, Murdaugh, Parker, Ellsroth, and Detrick is quite a mouthful, what we are going to refer to as PMPED. You see, he had been stealing some money from his own law firm by using money from clients and the firm for his own personal use. He was routing these funds into a Bank of America account under his name, Alexander Murdaugh DBA Forge, which is an entity that didn't actually exist. PMPED had started investigating Alex internally because they had found a suspicious check on his desk. And on the morning of June the 7th, the morning of the murders, Alex is confronted by the firm's CEO about a missing $792,000 fee missing from one of the cases. This confrontation marks the beginning of what is later revealed to be millions of dollars stolen by Alex Murdaugh from the firm. If this story wasn't crazy enough for you yet, well, this is where it gets really bizarre. Because the day after he's confronted by his firm for stealing the money, Alex Murdaugh is shot in the head in Hampton County while he's on the side of the road changing a tire. Keep in mind, this is his story. He says he's on some rural road when he has tire trouble, and he pulls over to change the tire. And he claims that a passing truck stops, a man gets out and shoots him, and then drives off. Somehow, he's still able to call 911 himself because he had actually only sustained a superficial gunshot wound to the back of the head. SLED investigators, they look at this incident and they think maybe it's all related, like maybe someone is targeting the Murdaugh family, which is possible because he's been a prosecutor forever. Maybe someone has a vendetta against Murdaugh and vows to take his entire family out. But investigators, they say, no, that is not the case here. See, investigators think this was actually planned by Alex himself, that he planned his own murder so that his surviving son, Buster, could cash in on this huge life insurance policy that Alex had. With his lies unraveling, investigators, they zero in on Alex. Who didn't see this coming, okay? They have had enough, and they eventually charge him with the murders of Maggie and Paul on July 14th, 2022, a little more than a year after their deaths. Alex, of course, he pleads not guilty to all charges. The trial, described as South Carolina's, quote, trial of the century, began on March 2nd, 2023. Although the prosecution's case was mostly built on circumstantial evidence, it centered really around three main arguments. One of which is the kennel video I told you about that Paul took literally minutes before his death, because this video captured Murdaugh's voice at the scene of the murders, a location he repeatedly denied being at that night. He actually maintained this lie that he wasn't at the kennels for 627 days. That is, until he gets on the stand at trial and actually admits that he had been there. The second was his motive, which the prosecution established as Murdaugh's world collapsing under the weight of all this financial pressure. They say he had spent years embezzling client funds. We're talking millions and millions of dollars stolen. And the other lawsuit from the Beach family was also looming. So the murders, they argued, are a desperate attempt on Alex's part to create a distraction and to also garner some sympathy. And finally is the forensic evidence against him. This is pretty strong here. This included a rain jacket with a significant amount of gunshot residue on the inside. Gunshot residue, GSR. We're going to refer to it as GSR. You see, Murdaugh's mother had a caregiver named Shelley Smith, and she testified that days after the murder, Alex shows up at his mother's house around 6:30 a.m., which is unusual. And she says he's carrying a blue vinyl item that looked like a tarp. Later, the rain jacket is found in a closet at the house, just wadded up. And investigators take this jacket and perform a GSR test on it. And on the inside of the jacket, they find a, quote, significant amount of GSR. The prosecution argued that he used this jacket to wrap the murder weapons, resulting in a high concentration of GSR on the inside of the jacket, and then he hid it in a closet at his mother's home. An incredibly detailed timeline from cell phone and vehicle data strongly contradicted his alibi also. So it's not just the GSR on the jacket, it is this incredibly detailed timeline. Special Agent Peter Radowski presented information derived from several cell phones, phone data extractions, and newly acquired OnStar data from Murdaugh's Suburban, which became a critical piece of the state's case. This timeline was so accurate, down to the second. It even told the jury the number of steps Murdaugh took. It told them when Maggie's phone registered an orientation change, as in when she's walking one way and then she turns and walks another way. And it also told them when Maggie and Paul's phones lock to indicate no further activity, meaning they're probably dead at that point. The evidence in the case is just overwhelming. The prosecutor, John Metters, he framed this trial as a, quote, common sense case about choices and consequences. He portrayed Murdaugh as this master manipulator whose web of lies started to unravel with the discovery of the kennel video. And I would tend to agree. On March 2nd, 2023, after only 3 hours of deliberation, the jury comes back and they find Murdaugh guilty on all counts. He's sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. Believe it or not, there are a lot of little rabbit holes to go down in this case, but here on Dead Diary, we like to focus on the brief overviews, short, bingeable episodes. But maybe we'll be back and explore some of those rabbit holes. Who knows? Anyway, I'm going to check out the new Hulu series on the Murdaugh case I told you about, and I'll let you know my thoughts on that if you follow me on social media. So visit murdercreekmedia.com to find those links. That's it for this week. We will be back next week with an all-new case. We'll see y'all soon. Dead Diary is a production of Murder Creek Media. To explore more of our work, including our investigative true crime series and other stories that keep us up at night, visit murdercreekmedia.com. Remember, new episodes of Dead Diary drop every week, so make sure to follow or subscribe on any podcasting platform. We'll see y'all soon.